What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be doing a full review for the Romancing Festival Arthur banner that brings Arthur a multi-purpose character that works everywhere for remembrance, hard challenges, Final Island and farming, but he is a single target slash specialist. And we have Gloria that can be used on farming, also on bossing, but it's extremely limited. And Talon that is a damage dealer for farming that also has access to a skill that heals and can be used for remembrance. Well, let's start talking about Arthur. He gives a name to the banner, is the best character as well. We have 115% STR, that's not top class. Some characters reach 120, but that's good enough for his purpose, because he still needs status for other stuff. Like his endurance and will are on 90%, so he does not suffer. And there is 74% dexterity. Good enough so that he does not miss, and 91% agility. That's just good enough as well so that he has good speed when farming. Nothing outstanding here, but good enough. Now for passes we have Talon support. When he uses a single full attack, he will chase with Turbulence Cannon with all single target attacks, and that skill will be activated on rank 1. But what is Turbulence Cannon? It's a single target 8 power attack. So that's where this Arthur starts becoming different than his past version. His past version has a chase that is blunt and hit, while he himself just does slash damage. That was very different, so sometimes we were hitting the enemy weakness with slash, but not with blunt and hit. So sometimes Arthur could not reach his full potential. But past Arthur is much better as an AoE specialist, while this Arthur is a single target specialist. Besides that, on end of odd turns, counting from the start of battle, he recovers 1 BP. That means 1, 3, 5 and beyond. And on even turns 2, 4, 6 and beyond, he will recover HP by around 1000. So this is something that will help him on remembrance, boss fights, and it's good, but could have been much better. They could have given him something like plus 1 BP and a very small healing when he attacks. That means that he will get from the attack itself and from the chase itself, so become a 5 VP per turn character. Sadly, he gets 7 VP across 2 turns only, limits him a little, but well, I must say that that is still good enough. Arthur is the second chaser without LP cost. The first one was Chooser, and well, let's give a look on Chooser. Chooser is slash damage dealer as well. That's something where they clash. Chooser uses guns, so he benefits from dexterity buffs, Peon of Peace, while Arthur will benefit more from Peon of Victory, from Matriarch, that buffs STR. Chooser has Clawbait Ejection, that is slash and pierce, so he can keep using this and get his chase, but his case is different. He has to keep charging with the skill, while Arthur can do that passively. All of his single target attacks will have this 8 powered chase. So something very interesting if we have to deal with a boss fight that reduces your LP, like the egg fight. Other chases like Silver and Ian will use LP as a countermeasure to balance them. Now the second passive is High Protect Tension, increasing damage potential by 20 and reducing damage taken by 30%. That's nice because he already has good status to defend himself, and you can at least reduce damage even further. Alongside the healing effect, he is pretty sustainable. Then we have Fired Up 7, increasing damage potential to 60% at all times. Good thing is that Arthur does not rely on having intrinsic. That means he can be equipped with anything, he will always decrease damage by 30%. Now moving on for our skills, we have Gleaming Slash Plus. This is an amplify for a node skill that's actually awesome. You get now slash and stun damage, deep power, and before he even attacks, he buffs his STR by up to 25% on max level. So this is a much better normal attack that buffs STR. That means that the chase attack will also benefit from the STR buff, allowing him to reach very nice damage potential for free. The second one is Pursuing Sword. This is an AoE attack with 8 PP cost, slash and blunt, B power 21 mod. 21 mod is on the start of the B power, and it has critical against undead and demons. I have to say that this skill here should not be used with this version of Arthur. it's much better to inherit in his past style and use that on turn 1 and turn 3. Depending on the situations, this will be very nice, because look, this Arthur has blunt, and I said that the first Arthur changes with blunt and heat. If you bring him on a stage that has enemies weak to blunt, you can attack on wave 1 and wave 3, hitting the enemy's blunt weakness is doing very good damage. That's for story mode. For normal events where you have 2 waves, that's not gonna be so special, but still something that will work well, because you're trading off slash for blunt. Then we have the third skill called Infinite Sword. That's a 9 BP skill that is also fast, indirect, it will not be countered, and has triple S power with just slash damage. And when the attack lands, you will apply defense down to the targets, with small effect that will increase damage potential of everyone in the party by 5% average, and this effect lasts for 2 turns. Good thing is that since this is fast, if you use this on overdrive or in any turn, it will just help everyone's damage no matter the speed, since Arthur himself is not the fastest character right now in the game. So this also helps him become a very good farmer, because when he uses Infinite Sword, it's a fast skill. You can place him on a back row and do plenty of damage on wave 1, for example, and then you can inherit from his S style Sonic Slash, that's also fast, so that he can just chase again on the second wave with a weaker attack, I know, but that's still interesting. Well, I don't think Arthur needs inheritance, to be honest, because his gameplay design is actually pretty simple. You will just open the fight, and turn 1 and turn 3 you use Gleaming Slash Plus, so that your cheese attacks will do more damage. Then by turn 3 you can use Infinite Sword, for example, and then wait till everyone is on overdrive, use Infinite Sword again, or overdrive turn, use once more inside the overdrive turn, so that everyone in your party will benefit from 2 stacks of defense down or increased damage potential. So Arthur is actually one of the best damage dealers right now, considering slash damage, but we have to talk about Silver, that is still a better damage dealer. Silver is just behind Leon, and she has 2 chase attacks. She has to charge, turn 1, and she gets only 2 LP for the whole fight. That can be dangerous, but the good thing is that Silver is very good defensively, especially the UDX style. But there's one thing, Silver has bad scaling with STR buffs most of the time. Why? Because she needs both agility and STR buffs in order to increase her damage potential to max level. Remember that martial artists require both STR and agility to increase their damage like other damage dealers. So you will require a buff like full buffs from Witch's Daughter or Matriarch's enough Victory that buffs both STR and agility. We'll get other buffers in the future that will not have this combination all the time. Muse, for example, only buffs STR, but we have someone like Melissa that buffs agility but does not buffs STR. See, sometimes those things will clash. And Arthur self-buffs himself already with his skill number 1. Something that Silver does not do, he just keeps doing steady damage. While his damage potential scales better, but he still does not beat Silver overall because of her BP generation. Silver has very nice BP generation, and she can use Sea Roaring Dragon Kick, then uses Lightning Fist, and then goes back and can use Sea Roaring Dragon Kick fast. You can also just use her Slash Cycle by inheriting Vandalize Plus, and in this case, Vandalize Plus will do more damage than Arthur on turn 1 most of the time. If you are hitting an enemy that's just slash weak, maybe Arthur will do very similar damage with his opener. But Vandalize Plus, followed up by her chase, will still do a little better, I believe. Especially if you are using her Global X style that has a little higher damage potential. But I'll be testing out this later. So, he's contested as a single target farmer, but he does offer some interesting utility when considering boss fights. He gets pretty close to Silver's potential, although Silver beats because of BP generation, being capable of using her nuke attack more often. Another contestant for Arthur is Albert, because he has left fork on turn 1, that's insane damage. It attacks 5 times and buffs STR 5 times. Albert can also be used on Remembrance because of high protect tension, but Albert does not self-heal and has much inferior endurance and will, but still work. I have to say that Arthur did not beat Albert turn 1 damage, gets close but does not beat, and if you miss it out on Albert, Arthur will just offer similar results on Remembrance with better sustain. Arthur is a very reliable damage dealer and will be useful for the long run because of such a good design. Having a chase mechanic that's a guarantee that has a power. Although he does not beat Leon and will never beat Leon, it's an alternative for when you need to bring Paean off victory to buff Endurance and STR. And will also work well with the newest Muse when she arrives. With all that said, he is the only character of both banners to receive a triple S grade as a very good character for the future. But the problem is that, will it justify pulling on a banner with other weak characters? I'll have to say something on the end of the video, but Arthur is at least deserving a very good grade. Arthur has a future style that is pretty unique on JP that kinda likes to use skill number 1 to buff STR when he's not doing anything, because all of his skills are pretty costly. 9, 13, and 17. He does not get these so easily. It has some restrictions like getting to near death state, also attacking on full HP, but he has a very good skill that uses 17 VP and buffs all status by 50%, gives 5 VP to everyone, recovers everyone to max, but, well, it's not easy to use and can only be used once. So, a character with a future, especially because he's gonna be released alongside a new Talon in Razan, a very nice character that buffs the party passively. The next character is Gloria. She's a mage that uses water spells. She has 80% endurance, that's not that bad for mages. Will is 100%, nothing too special but good enough. Intelligence is 117, kinda high end, but agility suffers a little with only 92%. Most mages are coming with higher values. For passives we have action switch. Yeah, once again, all banners have at least one action switch. And when she attacks with lightning attacks, she grants herself an attack boost, increasing damage by 10% for 3 turns, stacks, and recovers 2 BP. Then when attacking with cold attacks, she grants herself a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 20%, lasts for 3 turns and stacks, and also recovers HP by around 200. We need to discuss this later because she's not a perfect action switcher. She will not attack with both elements at all times. Second passive, Magical Aptitude. When she uses spell attacks, damage will be increased by 30%, and when she uses a spell, she has a 50% chance to chase with Lit 1. And also a separated 50% chance to chase with Ice 1. We'll be discussing these skills later. Then fired up 7 to increase damage potential by 40%. So she has 70% damage passives at all times, does not have a damage reduction passive, have to rely on defense boost triggering, and has 2 different chases with 50% chances. Okay, moving on, skill number 1 is called Ice 1. It has a 2 BP cost only, it's single foe, but it has random target, so you cannot choose which enemy you'll be attacking. The power with 24 mod is actually pretty impressive for 2 BP. This is the same skill that she uses as a chase. Let's talk about the second chase. It comes from her S style, called Lit 1. It's just the same power and also random, but lightning damage instead. Okay, so Gloria has a chance to trigger her action switch passives with her chases, but one skill will trigger one effect while the other will trigger the other effect. With 50% chance, it will happen at least once per turn in average, but not reliable. Skill number 2 is called Plasma Lane. For 6 BP you have a column attack that deals lightning damage as power. Well, 70% damage passives in S power will likely work on story farming. And because it's 6 BP and she gets BP when attacking with lightning, you can use it on Dragon Stance X formation, or even any formation to be honest, and she will be able to use this 3 times in a row. So even if she is not soloing good damage, and maybe someone with weaker damage can use it just to help increase a little and finishing enemies. Then skill number 3 is called Ice 2. For 10 BP, you have a single target attack that is also random. You cannot choose the target. If there are multiple enemies in the fight, it's not good. The next Remembrance battle will have minions, so it's not a good thing to use this skill. But it does have 4S power, so it's a counterbalance. If there's only one boss, that is actually pretty nice. Sadly, cold is not the element that boosts her BP, so she will be getting 3 in that turn only, unless you chains with the lightning attack. So she is essentially a cold damage dealer most of the time, but she can also be a lightning 1 from inheritance. You can just inherit Thunderclap. Plus, this is a fast full AoE attack that has a power and can inflict stun and paralyze. So it's nice to have this, but she's a staff user. There's plenty of staff users that can stun and paralyze as well. Not that important. Since we are here, let's talk about Marine Ball. That's a morale down spell that only inflicts small debuff. That is minus 15% damage from enemies. We already have the medium effect from Joe, and we'll get more in the future that decreases damage by 25%. So that's not a really good inheritance. You only use Thunderclap Plus in some rotations when, for example, you could just use Thunderclap Plus on turn 1 as inheritance. She will get then 2 BP back from the lightning attack, and then you get, for example, 1 BP plus from the Dragon Stance X formation, and then try to use, for example, Plasma Lane on the wave number 2. So she is essentially more of a cold damage dealer for boss fights. You'll be using Ice 2 and then Ice 1, and then as soon as you get enough BP, you will use Ice 2 again, but that can take lots of time if you do not get the Lit 1 as a chase, because that's where you get 2 BP. You can do something else too. You can just go and inherit Lit 1, and then you will be using Lit 1 instead of Ice 1, so that you guarantee to cycle between Cold and Lightning to have a mix of the action switch effects, so that you will get more BP, but you will reduce your defenses. Because if you are just focusing on cold attacks, you get at least 3 stacks of defense boost, or even more. Depends on the situations, but because she is not a perfect action switcher, we already have better options right now. Characters that can get all the effects with each attack. For example, Khalid and the latest Rock. They will offer much more value when used in boss fights. So even Rock has attack down in her skill that debuffs all status, so look at this morale down effect. It's much inferior, and Rock can use that all turns, and she eventually does very good damage while being a very good debuffer. So when facing competition, Gloria just does not justify her utility that much. Now, as a chase attacker, you can compare her to some other characters that have a chance to chains instead of guarantees. Arthur, for example. And those characters could be the newest Bertrand. Well, he has 37% chance to chains with Cure Fire, 37% chance to chains with Cure Water, but he has something else. He buffs intelligence when he gets attacked, counters direct attacks with Twin Goldfish that has defense and attack boost, and every time that he attacks, even with his chases, he has very small healing and recovers 1 BP. You kind of have all the effects from Action Switch, but in different setup. Bertrand offers much more. He just won't easily die, and can be used as a counter specialist and also as a BP battery to the team, so you have a much better investment. Another chaser that has very similar setup is Rouge, but he has even lower chances, but the skills that he uses are much better. He has Blooming Fireworks plus an Everlasting Butterflies that has good damage and 2 hits. So Gloria design is inferior to those 2 characters that are pretty popular, and sadly I don't see much usage to use the character. If you get her, you can use in some bosses, and if you want to use her as a farmer, well, Plasma Lane will work. The good thing about her is that enemies that are weak to cold are also usually weak to lightning, hence why you can actually switch between both cold and lightning attacks. Sadly, I'm pretty sad about her design. She doesn't have a starting damage reduction passive. It requires using action switch and cannot even trigger both effects like most of her recent units. Then, because of that, and being a random attacker, she will receive only an SS grade in the tier list. The next character is Talon, and this design is actually very strange. He does not know if he wants to be a farmer every day, or if he wants to be a better remembrance specialist, because there's a conflict in his design. Endurance and Will are just okay, Dexterity is pretty high with 119%, his agility is pretty low for a farmer, and all the other status don't matter much. And when comparing to the past version, you are losing out on BP generation and getting better damage passives and better Dexterity. So you do more damage but won't have access to better rotations. Okay, moving on. For skills we have Heal Unit for 3 BP and 1 LP. You will recover someone and also revive if needed. It says E-Power, but, well, because this is a gun skill, it actually scales super well, so you usually get from 0 to max if you have the skill maxed. It will also cleanse all status augments and debuffs. That's good, but it's single target. I don't know if that will be so important. The second skill is Graviton. For 8 BP, you have a triple S power attack with Lightning and Shadow, 59 mod. The damage is okay for the cost. It has delay, so it's not good for normal usage, besides Overdrive. And, well, Graviton has the same attributes as his Laser Cannon, that is an AoE attack, Lightning and Shadow. Then, the last attack is E-Ray. For 16 BP, you have a full AoE attack with double S power 48 mod. That's pretty big for a double S in AoE attack, and has heat and lightning damage. So, heat and lightning is something that we find in Dora, the dragon. Yeah, that has a very old style right now. So this is the best source for this type of combination, of course, but you are locked on using this on turn 2. With this style or even with the past style, because 16 BP is a lot. Then we just got also a Global XS version of Talon that I really don't understand why they made, because the inheritance options here are a little strange. You could get Pulse Cannon. It's an 11 BP attack. You can use this on turn 1. It's a fully AoE blunt attack. But after that, what can you do with this Talon? Nothing, because you are locking on a delayed attack, and for farming that's super bad. He's just not gonna attack, so he's an opener and does nothing else. And the other inheritances are single target, for example Laser and Sharp Shot. Those skills can be used if you wanna bring him for Remembrance, to use that Heal Unit skill. But then he loses the Engage 4 passive. He only keeps the first and third, so he is not that good anymore, because does not have damage reduction passive. All recent releases for Remembrance have damage reduction capabilities to survive much better, so even from the 10 robots banner we got a robot that can heal and he is defensive, so I don't see the real potential of this unit. Everything here is just conflicting. If you wanted to have a better Remembrance character, you needed better defense capabilities. If you wanted a better armor, you didn't want a delay, or you wanted a better inheritance options for something. Okay, he can still do something here from the first S style. He has Proton Rocket Plus. That can be used on turn 1 and on turn 3. And if you are still having problems with Death Master and you are a new player, that Remembrance fight, you can still work well by using Proton Rocket on the required turns and healing in between. Still not something that's game changing. It's a very strange design and I don't really like it that much. The selling point of his past version was to use Missile Cannon 2 times in a row. He can't do that easily because of the BP generation. Now you can still inherit Missile Cannon, but you'll be locking on turn 1 and turn 3 damage. Okay, higher damage potential, but it's not something special anymore. You have other characters that can use a power AoE attacks on turn 1 and then on turn 3. So, is this worth the trouble to summon for Talon? I don't think so. So, Talon is a very restricted unit and will be receiving an SS- grade in the tier list. Now, speaking about JP, the future version of Talon has something much better. A very cheap full AoE attack to fix some rotations from his past styles. It has an attack that also applies a defense down, and this skill here that can be used 2 times per battle that recovers and revives all surviving allies while also removing all debuffs and ailments. So, much better healing option that can be used twice. And he is a character that also has defense capabilities, even through if he needs to resist. It's a much better setup than the current Talon. Now, back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, not as much. There's only Arthur as a character that is worth investing, in my opinion, because he is a really strong slash damage dealer for single target, and pretty defensive as well. Works for all contents, but if you already have someone like the latest Albert, or Silver with Vandalize Plus, you already cover those fronts for hard challenges. Albert is good for Remembrance, but Arthur is better, so there's that. If you want more options, Arthur is welcome. But Gloria and Talon are really odd. I don't think they are worth going for, and will barely add for people's account, either new or veterans. So this banner will only receive a Bronze Plus award, because Slash is actually easy to find and will have other alternatives, even though Arthur is a really good style. Well, that's my opinion. I may summon for him even though, because, but even if you decide to pull, you can wait at least 1 week to see what's coming next. We may have some good surprises. And if you want to pull, focus on Arthur. Once you get him, drop out of the banner. I may pull here because I see some good potential on Arthur, but, well, it's easy to skip if you don't have many gems. With all that said, this is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and if you want to support the channel, we have links on the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.